The gentleman from Utah is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Gosar. I appreciate the gentleman from Arizona taking the lead this evening and talking about this important issue. Look, one of the things we always need to do is learn the lessons of history, so we simply do not repeat them. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, communism was the new government concept that excited the elites of that particular era, to the point that it was such an expansive idea that part of the reason that Woodrow Wilson wrote his 14 points was to intellectually challenge communism and restate the significance of democracy and Republican forms of government. When communism did obviously take root in the Soviet Union and China, it was not a philosophical statement. It was simply an excuse for the good old-fashioned dictators to tell people how to live their lives. So, as Lenin called it, it was important to have the vanguard of the proletariat, so the people, the government would tell people how to think until people realized that the government was right in the first place. Those are some of the parts of history that we never want to repeat again. Now, if the Green New Deal, this toothless wish, was merely a one-and-done manifesto, then maybe that would be one thing. But my fear is it becomes an opening salvo into the dangers that are stated when we decide that the government must find the solutions. The government must tell people what to think and what to do, that elites are the ones who have all the ideas, when in reality, history has shown us that solutions always come from people who were empowered to find and make decisions for themselves and find solutions for themselves. People need to be given options. People need to be given choices. People need to be able to chart their own destiny. My fear is that elitism enriches and empowers would-be autocrats, denigrates the role of individuals, and those are dangerous attitudes that must be discussed and must be understood in some particular way. And let's face it, some of the people, the cheerleaders for the Green New Deal, they just don't simply get it. When they live in areas where commutes, family errands are measured in blocks and subway stops, that's different from other people in America who, when they take a drive into town to buy school clothes, that's going to take the entire afternoon. It's different than people who realize that they have to make a choice between health care and heating their home, and that is a real responsibility for them and a real problem. The burdens imposed by the Green New Deal, which have been outlined by several speakers already, are those that land squarely on the shoulders of humble, hardworking Americans, while the elites pat themselves on the back. For the rural West, my state of Utah, it's not really a Green New Deal, it's rather a Green Raw Deal for them to live. Now, recently in our committee, where I'm the ranking member, we had an amendment that Mr. Graves made to one of the rules that would request an analysis of economics before any bill was considered. Now, one of the freshman Democrats spoke to that issue, and I want to just restate what he said. I thought what he said was profound. He stated, "I think we have to be very mindful of the people, their jobs, their ability to pay their bills because of the changes that we make. And this is a discussion that should always be had. We shouldn't just be speaking in the theoretical." Now, ironically, even though I thought his words were spot on, that motion to have that policy was defeated. Nonetheless, I recently joined other ranking members in asking the Speaker Pelosi that if there is serious discussion, that unlike H.R. 1, that this is going to be heard by many committees. Many voices will have a chance of talking about what will actually happen. These hearings ought to ask how this Green New Deal might impact energy prices and home prices and jobs and health care. So far, those who have done the series of studies, so far from the outside, the outlook isn't really, it looks pretty bleak on what the potential could indeed be. There are already many examples of negative impacts that would happen if this was actually to become a reality. So, as stated in our plea to Speaker Pelosi, I do fear that this Green New Deal would hurt Americans struggling to make ends meet, the very people it purports to help. And worst of all, it could permanently put the American dream out of reach for millions of people. We need to really look very carefully at this and not just assume statements that are being made taking place. We need to learn from history and not repeat those same mistakes. And with that, I'm appreciative of having the opportunity of being here as part of this special order to try and talk about some of the realities of this purported deal.
I appreciate the gentleman's response, and thank you.